Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Texas Homer. That's Paul Wadlington. Today, we are going to discuss Texas portal process, where there might be some issues, where it seems to be working well. Then we'll talk a little bit about the Clemson situation with tampering and what that means for the sport. And then we'll look at Texas's revenues generated in different sports as a way to talk about how things might be a changing. But first, I want to see you over on Inside Texas. You can join for just $1. New members only. Would absolutely love to see you over there. It is the first link in the description. All righty. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Paul wrote a nice piece. What was the title here? Mistakes are a portal of discovery. Beautiful stuff.
Thanks, man.
And what we need to do is dissect where the process is working and where it doesn't appear to be working. And that's what we will do right now. So you can say, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say, immediately after I wrote that article, we realized that there were several job postings from UT. So UT always has to post job openings publicly. That's often procedural, meaning they already have the hires in mind. Not always the case. Sometimes they're just like, hey, we need to hire in this position, and they go do it properly. Often they already have the hire in their mind, and then they need to go post it and have it sit. Like, I think you have to post it for a week or something, like the rules of the state. I don't know. Something like that.
That's not really my skill set.
Not really mine either. But so anyway, there were several postings. One of them for director of college scouting. So I think some of my observations probably were something that Sark has realized and understood, that we do have an apparatus for acquiring players. Obviously, we just got several good players in the portal, but we don't have a fully fleshed out scouting department, in the sense that we're bringing players proactively to Sark throughout the year in anticipation of the portal. So the idea is, you got three guys locked in a room who are 25 years old that you've trained up for the traits that you're looking for, and they're just grinding film. Lower tier P4, FCS, G5. They're going out and trying to actively identify players, and they're not waiting to be contacted by agents, getting into people's DMs or hanging out on Instagram, waiting to find out who's in the portal and then making your board from that. So I think that's a very different, you need to do both, but I think that's a very different process. And if you don't want to always pay retail, if you want to pay wholesale, then that is a type of scouting that you need to do. And it's the type of scouting that really helps you fill depth positional need, and also positional need of less glamorous positions, like
left guard.
Very good, Connor. Very good. So anyway, that's something that I think Texas is going to have to build out. It doesn't mean that we're going to the Oklahoma model, because Oklahoma, of course, their GM does not report to their head coach. But at Texas, as at most schools, the buck stops with the head coach. He's in charge of it, and all the reporting lines go to him. And I think that's probably correct if you're comfortable with our basic model and you like Sark. But in many ways, OU is directionally correct. I just don't like their reporting structures and having random lines going to people outside of the organization.
And that their OU is a huge problem as well.
Also that they're OU, right? Yeah. That's a big problem.
Yeah, that's like really getting in the way. And so you say, we can get into the illusion of choice part, but really structurally, how does it look? I'm the 25-year-old. I've been grinding tape. I then give you how big a list, how do I tier it? Because my issue with guard is, it seemed like, now there were some guys that didn't go in the portal that Texas were targeting, I can tell you, were higher end guards. They didn't go in the portal, right?
Yep.
So my issue was, I really liked those main targets that didn't show, but hey, that process part seemed right. It seemed like the middle class was not there. It seemed like it went like, hopefully we can get this name. If we don't, then it goes down several rungs. And so my thing was just, hey, have your list of, I think you gave 10, and kind of tier them throughout the world. That way you're not going all or nothing on guard talent too.
Well, and not only that, So those guys are going to report to a senior scout, a guy with real chops evaluating talent, NFL, college, whatever, right? And they're going to basically make a pitch. They're going to make an elevator pitch. Hey, I found this guy at UC Davis. Coming out of high school, he was 6'4", 250, and he played in rural Wyoming. Okay. He was a 2-star. He ended up at UC Davis. After his first year lifting weights and eating on the meal plan, he's now 6'5", 310. And this guy was actually like a first-team all-district basketball player. He's very explosive. He's got great feet. This guy, we actually think, is growing into becoming a major P4 tackle. And, he's free. He's at UC Davis, and no one knows about him yet. Like, that's the hope of the pitch. Or you just keep track of guys like, hey, this guy was a 4-star. He's behind this guy who's a phenom. He's getting frustrated. He wants to transfer. I think that might be the case with the A&M guy we got, right? Guys you like, and then you're like, okay, this is an opportunity, right? I think the other part is that you actually have part of the reason for a process is that you have uniformity and you know who's got responsibility and ultimately has to answer for what's going on. So what happens in these situations when there's a paucity of middle-class guards, right, is personnel says, well, the O-line coach didn't pull the trigger on these guys. And the line coach says, I wasn't given very good options. And Sark is left saying, I don't know what happened. You got to have a 45-minute meeting where the director of scouting, the O-line, the position coach, and the head coach sit down and say, all right, here's our 10 options. Here's how we have them tiered. This is what we want to do. And the O-line coach in front of God and country can say, hey, you're showing me the guys, 7 of these 10 guys are not even acceptable. I'm sorry. And Sark can say, you're being a little hard on that. Maybe this guy's reasonable, but I agree. There's only really 3 viable options here, but that's fine. Let's rank them and go after them. Or they could say, all right, any of these 10 guys are good, and that's great for our negotiations with any one of the 10.
Right.
Because we don't care. Like, hey, man, we're offering $175,000. Oh, we're being offered much more than that on the market. I can't get into who's offering what. Okay, bye. The guy's like, what? So you move to your next guy. So, you just have to have a better process than I was hanging out on Instagram and this guy's going in the portal. Do we like him? Let's go watch some film. That's a very different process from what I'm describing. So, and by the way, that process or more likely having an agent contact you. Hey, Cam Coleman, agent, he is going in. Cam Coleman wants to go in. Do we want this guy? What's the number look like? Let's make sure we want him. Let's go watch a little film. Yeah, we want him. I mean, that's a very different process from fleshing out other parts of your roster that's not built on, your coaching network. Obviously, we know how we got Bo Musco from Rutgers.
Right.
We have a guy who used to coach there. So he's like, hey, that guy can play. And the coaches go, cool. Rutgers sucks. They can't pay him. Let's go take him. Done. So
I was gonna say there's some very you could do very basic scouting. So like the problem is it can be overwhelming if you're looking at every guard in college football, right?
Yep.
So how do you shrink your universe of candidates? You can create some base metrics. You don't even look at sacks. You can just look at pressures. I want guys under these amount of pressures and they do in the NFL pressures per 1,000 snaps. So they can equalize who plays more. So you look at that. And then your next step is once you have your list, of 50 guys now out of all available college football, then you can start looking at big things like what was their scheme. What you really want to look for, too, is the other players. What you want to see, because if he's on a great offensive line, that'll actually ding your evaluation or add a little bit of doubt. If all the 4 other guys suck and they're giving up 50 pressures a game and he's giving up 1, that's the guy you want. You mentioned it, too. A good place to scout is guys directly behind high-round NFL guys.
Yeah.
Because they're not playing because they're probably not tradesy enough compared to that guy. But it doesn't mean he's not valuable. It just means that they saw that they had a second rounder there. So there's all these little tricks that you can use to even shrink that world. I mean, I can do it with PFF just to get the available candidates. And then you look at their size, and we need to be a little bit more flexible. I was looking through the NFL draft, like how big does a guard actually need to be? And it's anywhere between 6'2" and 6'6". We're kind of like, we only look at like 6'4" to 6'6". So
you know what?
Expand your range a little bit there too.
Well, here's the thing. If the more resources you have and the more eyes you have on different players and different ways of contacting or knowing about players, I should say, you can be picky.
Yeah.
But you can't be picky if you don't have an apparatus.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
So, and that's the other thing is, also there's build. So it's not just what your height is, it's your length. Mm-hmm. The Spurs had that insight, right? This guy is 6'6". He's undersized, dramatically undersized for the NBA to play power forward.
He sticks his arm out.
He has an 81-inch, arm span, right? Yeah. So when he's on the court, he's functionally 6'9.5".
Right.
So cool. We can work with this guy. And by the way, no one's interested in this guy. So we can get him for free. We bring him into our camp. We watch him play. Oh, he's holding his own. Let's keep him around. Oh, he's not holding his own. Let's ditch him. And no one gets the blame. So that's the other part of this is part of the reason to have shared accountability or to have a set accountability once you agree on, of the 10 guys we just looked at, we agree that 7 of them are acceptable. 3 of them are prioritized. Mm-hmm. Go get them. Okay. Now you've all agreed there can't be any he said, she said after that. So now we all own this. Now go procure this guy. And flood plays a role in that, and personnel plays a role in that, right? Or you can look at the 10 guys and say, you know what? You haven't shown me 10 guys that are viable or an improvement over what we had last year. That's not good, fellas. And then they go, okay, fair enough. Or you could say to Flood, hey man, you just nixed this guy from Ball State because he's 6'3", but all of his metrics are incredible. You really don't even want to dig down deeper on this guy. Are you sure? So you're telling me the guys you have on campus right now are better. You're about to surprise us with the amazing development that you've been doing with these guys. Is that the case? Had you had that conversation last year and Kyle Flood answers, all right, maybe not. Or he says, yeah, I'm about to wow you with what I've done with Connor Stroh and Nick Brooks. You're about to have your socks blown off. Then Sark nods and goes, okay.
Either way, you know.
Now you know. Now you have some certainty. So then you can come back 2 games into the season and go, Kyle, what's going on? You said you were about to wow me with this remarkable development. Or Kyle Flood, could have said, hey, remember that meeting we had with personnel and they didn't have a single guard option for me that was viable? Well, that's what we're living in now, coach. And Sark goes, fair enough, right? At least now you know where to go.
Well, if I'm personnel at the beginning of the season, I'm meeting with each position coach. We're coming up with traits, but actual physical moves on the field. I want to see him be able to turn a guy on outside zone, whatever. Give me your 8 things.
Right.
For Flood, it's going to be outside zone ability and pass blocking. Okay, great. We're going to rubric that. We're going to then show the rubric to the coach. It's going to be signed off by the head coach. These are the rubrics. These are what we're grading for at these positions. If they meet minimum X score, they're a take. And then if they meet a higher standard, they're prioritized. And then my film department is going to give me a 3-minute cut up of each player. They're going to show the blocks on outside zone. They're going to show their wins in pass protections. They're going to show all the pressures they give too, so we can see what their issues are. That way, everyone can see it. There's not just this guy's not a take. That coach is going to have to tell me exactly where he failed on the rubric. He's going to have to point out to me on the tape what he's not liking. You need to make it much more concrete. If a position coach is like, it's not a take. Okay, great. Why is it not a take? Because that's going to improve our process, right? If I'm getting it wrong and you're saying it's not a take, oh, okay, then I need to change this on the rubric, or I don't understand this block. But you need it much more concrete with these guys too, like you do in the NFL.
Well, that's a great point. So we know that pass blocking is prioritized. Mm-hmm. Okay. We are going to run the ball some. So you said outside zone. Is that true? Is that our prioritization?
Yeah.
Are we an outside zone running team?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It depends.
Sometimes we're not.
On the amount of clinics Kyle Flood has done and 90% of them being outside zone.
I don't care. I'm talking about games.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to do counter last year.
Well, I know. I'm well aware.
But we didn't.
No.
And so we started going outside zones. And
so we need to nail down what is our identity.
Right.
Because if we go recruit some guys that are just giant, big physical mashers, as some of the guards that we had, as some of the offensive linemen that we had, and then we say, we're really an outside zone team. I need guys with good feet. I don't care how, they don't need to be brutal. They don't need to be monsters. They need to be able to turn a guy. Yep. Hey, man, you've just, that's literally the offensive line equivalent of saying, hey, our quarterback needs to be able to throw a little bit, but honestly, that guy needs to be able to run.
Right.
Versus, hey, first and foremost, we're trying to throw the ball to Cam Coleman, Ryan Wingo, and Emmett Mosley. The quarterback must be a passer first and foremost. If he's also athletic, that's great. You've just described two very different systems of offense.
Right.
So part of the whole scouting process and having a formalized scouting process is creating clarity about what your football team is. So I don't want to hear, it would be ludicrous on defense in year 5, 6, 7 to say, well, I really like this young, quick nose. Yeah, he's 285, 290, but man, he gets in there and he can disrupt. Obviously, we don't want him to get double teamed a lot, but hey, sometimes he's going to get mashed, and we're a penetrating defense, and we're just going to deal with that, right? Versus we need a 370-pound nose who is an immovable object. Yeah, he's not going to make a lot of plays on the opposite B gap, but we're going to deal with that. That's the linebacker's job. Those are two different systems,
right?
So let's get some clarity and let that infuse the scouting process, and let the scouting process then infuse your football team with the body types and the style of play that you want. Now, you do have to have some flexibility in the sense that, hey, I love big backs. I want a back who's 230 pounds and he moves the chains. Well, guess what? If a young Eric Metcalf is available and he wants to go to Texas, you're going to find a way at the slot or running back. Bring him on the team. We'll figure it out. You have to have some flexibility. Don't be stupid about this.
Right.
But if you want big backs, then go recruit big backs. And if you want guys who can run zone, outside zone, then go recruit those guys. We've got Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown. Sounds like we should be an outside zone team. I don't know. Are we going to be?
Yeah, if you're moving Baker to guard, sure seems like, but it's like you got to actually do it at that point.
Yeah, so that's the point, is part of the reason to have a robust scouting network is also to clarify not what you want to be, but what you actually are. And you've got to recruit to that system. All this falls apart if you're just like late Mac Brown era, let's just recruit football players. Let's just recruit guys. And you're freaking fling the ball around the yard, and then you tell Greg Davis, we're gonna be Alabama, Greg. That's how they beat us. It's like they beat you because Colt McCoy got hurt. That's not why Alabama beat you. Like, I was at the game. What are you talking about?
It's devastating.
We're gonna run the ball downhill. Okay. Well, we just built a team that doesn't do that, Mac. Like, we built a team where we throw the ball everywhere. And we have a quarterback who's like making audibles and visual checks with a Shipley at the line of scrimmage. And now you want to run the ball downhill. Okay, cool. Well, you should have told me that 2 years ago, and we could have built that team out. So
why does Texas seem to, I'm just setting you up. Why does Texas gets Cam Coleman. Texas gets the backs you mentioned.
Right.
Why? It almost make more sense if it was completely, screwed up across the board, but like, scouting seems to work with certain player types or certain positions, and then not.
Is that scouting?
Exactly. So, okay. So, what's the difference there? How can we say left guard, our guard is messed up, but you get Cam Coleman?
Well, so if you guys are watching the deep dive, I'd encourage you to go do it. But so chat, maybe not fully getting my example there, but one of the things about what we're trying to do is that the Cam Coleman's talent is evident. It was evident when he came out of high school.
Any fan I've talked to was like, I want Cam. Any guy off the street wanted Cam.
And so, and then you know what? His stats weren't great. And so Ian and I dug in on a deep dive. We have a deep dive solely devoted to Cam Coleman. And we realized, hey, this is a very good player with a horrific ecosystem. Terrible offense, terrible route options.
Total routes, yeah.
Terrible quarterback. Just Auburn was just screwed up, like in every possible way. That is a 9 or 10 win football team if their Ducks were in a row. And you see him and you go, okay, now you need to catch the ball. Like you can't just have this like I'm wide open and I drop a touchdown. He had a couple of those. I got to think that's going to clean up when he's in a better supporting system, right? So we want Cam Coleman. You watch Hollywood Smothers, like, hey, that guy's explosive. I mean, I know he's playing in the ACC and all that. Well, Miami played in the ACC. So, you know, this is real football we're watching. It's not Montana State destroying Boise, you know, or Idaho, I should say. So those things are not just scheme agnostic, they're scouting agnostic. An amateur can put on Cam Coleman and go, he good. Go get him. Even the Wake Forest offensive tackle to a lesser extent, you could put him on and go, all right, that guy's basically Trevor Gooseby, just a lesser version. So want him. Great feet, 6'6", long, great, done. The nuance is in those judging those middle tier players and also interior players. It's not as easy to judge a guard as it is to judge a tackle. So, you know, I think that's the part of the apparatus we need to flesh out. And based on these hires that we're making, looks like we're going to try to do that. We'll see.
Yeah. There's something about like linebacker, guard, literally like interior of offense and defense because they're more dependent on more factors. A tackle is like one-on-one with an edge. You can really evaluate. An outside receiver is one-on-one with the corner. It's very easy and isolated to evaluate. He beat him. But once you start going with guards and centers working on double teams and linebackers needing the 3 tech to do this for him to do that, that's when the evaluation becomes more difficult. And it was hard even like to get in the middle tier of guards. Like you have to learn a lot about like actual technique. That's the only way you can evaluate at that point. Because once everyone's 6'4" and 320 and you have that universe, now it's about who's getting beat and why are they getting beat. And a big thing that I've seen, you cannot evaluate a guard like a wide receiver, not in because of their different body types, but literally you have to go for stability at guard. It's a different thing. A guard's success, the best thing a guard can do on a play is like, that was a sick double team. That's very cool, but it's not as impactful as we just got sacked and then he picked it up and ran. The floor is lower than it is higher for a guard. A wide receiver can drop a ball and then his upside is a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right? Incompletion versus touchdown. That's huge more to the upside. Guard is far more to the downside. So even if I saw a guard make 10 incredible blocks and then a sack, 10 incredible blocks and then a sack, you still can't take that guard because it's not an upside position. It's a stability position. You have to look for the bottom versus necessarily the top for a guard.
So the first thing you're told as a physician, right, is first do no harm.
Right.
That should underlie your understanding of offensive line play. Yeah, he's not remarkable. No, he's not like dominating people at the line of scrimmage. Man, he doesn't blow assignments and he's pretty sound. Like he doesn't give up sacks.
Two pressures on the year, man.
Yeah, he doesn't give up negative plays. Yeah, I know he's not like dominant. He's not freaking Larry Allen at the point of attack. We can work around that, right? That's very different from mercurial wide receiver or mercurial running back who's like, did that idiot even understand where the hole is? What is he doing on this play? Like, my God, he danced, and now it's 2nd and 11. The next play, he jukes 3 dudes and he goes 70. And you kind of shrug and go, well, the running back giveth, the running back taketh away. I guess we can live with that, right?
Yeah.
Can't really have that with offensive linemen. You know, it's got to be that first do no harm.
Yeah, it's the floor. And so I still will get in arguments with people where like, I'll point out every bad rep they have on tape, and then they'll say, well, where are his good reps? It's like, I don't care about his good reps. He just did 10 things that would have stalled the offense off.
Yeah.
This is not a good reps position. It is like you said, first do no harm. I'm evaluating for is Arch going to get sacked and is the drive going to stall, and that's the evaluation at interior. First things first, not that pancakes are awesome for fans. It's like NFL hardest hits videos. They're awesome. I don't care about a pancake at all. If you're giving up tons of sacks, it does not matter if you pancake somebody.
Yep.
Homer, what about the wide receiver bump sets the ball into the secondary for a pick six? There's frequencies here. Of course, that would be bad if a wide receiver did it, but a guy can give up 4 sacks in a game. A receiver is not likely to tip the ball to the defense. Can it happen? Sure, but it's much more likely you're going to give up a sack and stall the drive than that occurring.
Well, let's also talk about the fundamental asymmetry of the position, which is this. A sorry college wide receiver split out wide is going to have what on him? Coverage. He's not uncovered.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what you're asking.
Well, that's what I mean is that's what's interesting about the position is if you can have a very viable wide receiver core with 2 good players and 2 scrubs. You split a scrub out by himself and trips on the other side. That scrub on the other side has a dude on him.
He's still going to take a corner away.
He's still going to take a defender away. And that's the fundamental insight of the Texas high school spread offense that spread throughout Texas and then proliferated. The philosophy is, hey, I have limited talent. But I notice when I take my kid that runs a 4.9 40 and he weighs 140 pounds and I split him out, they still have to have a guy go cover him. Like I can get a guy out of the box. And now my running quarterback has a bunch of room. Or now my amazing receiver on the other side, who's 6'3", 210 and runs a 4.5, he's still, I can still manipulate him around because that one guy can still guarantee one guy from the defense is going to be occupied on him. There's really not an equivalent to that at some other positions, right? And so, that's why I always say offensive line has the most similarities with defensive back. Not because of body type or personality.
Coordination.
It's coordination, and you're always looking for that one weak link. People like to take offensive lines. Like, so right now, you'll go on Inside Texas. You guys should go join. They'll go on Inside Texas and say, well, our average offensive lineman's pretty good. Well, if your average is 2 NFL guys and 1 scrub, guess what? Your offensive line has problems. Because a mean does not determine the quality of your offensive line. It's the bottom number. It's the floor.
Yep.
So if you're ranking players on a scale of 1 to 10, and you've got 2 guys out at tackle who are 8.5s, like they're good players, and you got 1 guard who's a 6, but your center is a 4.5, and your left guard is a 2. I don't care what your average is, that you're an average offensive line or above average. I, as a defensive coordinator, am going to pick on that guard and that center over and over. I might not even have a pass rusher on your tackles. Right. Or if I do, they're there to distract them. Like, that is what people have to understand about offensive line play. That's different. Just like DBs. I could have freaking Earl Thomas at free safety. I could have a shutdown corner out wide. If my other corner is a 3 on a scale of 10, I've got problems, man. Because that other team is going to scheme everything just attacking that guy over and over. And to a certain extent, there's not a ton I can do about it.
So they have. The more you learn about offensive line too, and you played the position, so did I. Not at this level, but learning how technical that position is to be really good. Because if you think, even the NFL guys, right, those guards and centers, they're nowhere close to the athletes of an NFL defensive tackle. Oftentimes the size or the strength can even be equal or disadvantage. They become skill, right? Jason Kelsey was skill, and that's how he became great at center. These guys need techniques. Techniques are what allow you to counter disadvantages if you're not the more powerful or twitchy guy, and oftentimes you won't be. So that's why coaching on the offensive line is so crucial, because you have to neutralize or equalize these talent disadvantages. And the only way to do that, it was proper technique, hands, feet, balance, all of that stuff has to be great, or else you're going to get absolutely cooked, because that 3 tech is a better athlete than you 9 times out of 10.
Your least athletic defensive linemen are better athletes than every offensive lineman on your team except maybe a guy.
Yeah, maybe a left tackle.
And I mean Trevor Gooseby.
Right.
Your worst is a better raw athlete than the best guys, except maybe one dude on your offensive line.
Yeah.
If you understand that, then, and people are always like, well, there's a paucity of good quality starting offensive linemen. Sounds to me like you better start convincing some guys to convert and coaching them up, because the guys who are able to do that have a huge advantage. I mean, that is why a lot of people will grow their offensive linemen, right? They'll take big bodied tight ends and they'll put them on weights and food. And before you know it, you've got an all-pro NFL tackle in Lane Johnson. Started off his college career.
Incredible.
Started his college career at quarterback.
Yeah.
Even so, a lesser example of that, Tony Hills, right? He was a high school tight end. Everyone kind of knew his projection was going to be tackle one day. And that's what he was at Texas. So, yeah, I mean, I just think you have to be a little more out of the box on some of this stuff. But you also need to understand there's an asymmetry in the athletic ability of these different groups. I mean, we're not even talking about defensive ends. We're obvious. We know Colin Simmons is a better athlete than our starting guard. But I'm saying that, like, Hero Kanu is a much better athlete than your offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand that, and you have to kind of
coach the hell out of them. They have to be sound.
They got to have that technique, and you got to look for the opportunities to turn defensive linemen into offensive linemen. NFL is full of a bunch of those guys. So,
yeah. All right, guys, before we keep going, we'll talk a little bit of the Clemson stuff and then the truth about college football money. That's my catchy title. But first, very quick word from Academy.
Fast one.
Same day delivery powered by DoorDash.
All right, Dabo, legendary press conference that I listened to all of, by the way. And he made it like a Netflix murder documentary where he goes through the timelines. There's something that's much more if you just say the time something happens before
3:26 p.m.
Exactly. At 9:45 p.m. It just, whatever you say now sounds sinister. And he did a great job there going through the timeline of when they were contacted, when Clemson finds out, contacts the player. Ole Miss still pushes through to take him, offers him a higher number. And then the agent saying that X is not going to happen. And then the player just goes rogue and heads to Ole Miss. And it was pretty wild to hear the actual chain. It's happening, but to have a coach give you a Netflix murder documentary breakdown of it was pretty fun.
Well, so let's set the scene here for those who don't know. So Dabo Swinney has a press conference where he basically has all the receipts on tampering from Ole Miss and Pete Golding via the agent for a player that Clemson got that's already enrolled. Okay, so he's a transfer from Cal that Clemson got, a rare transfer for Dabo. And basically, that guy's sitting in class at Clemson, and Ole Miss is still tampering, saying, hey, our semester hasn't started yet. We still have a chance to get you in. And the agent, the way Clemson learns about this is the agent goes to Clemson and goes, hey, we got this offer from Ole Miss. You guys want to match or beat it? And Clemson's like, what are you talking about? This guy's he's sitting in a classroom at Clemson, or he's online in a class at Clemson, more likely. And they're like, whoa, agent's like, oh, it is what it is. Are you guys going to match? And so this guy ends up unenrolling, whatever it's called, goes to Ole Miss, and then Dabo reads the receipts in a press conference. That press conference was for more than just Dabo saying, I'm going to call you out. It's also Dabo doing a little distraction because people were criticizing him about the portal. And he's like, do you want me to get involved? This is what the portal is, right? Look at how lowly these people. Now, is it kind of a scumbag move by Ole Miss? Yeah. But there's no governing authority on any of this. I mean, allegedly the NCAA, but what are they going to do?
Yeah, so the court tested. But it was trying to
crazy thing.
He's just change, right?
Well, here's the other thing. He's just a starting linebacker. This guy's not special. And the money being thrown around gives you some idea of the market. So this isn't just internet rumor. This guy's offered $1.2 million. People go, that's ridiculous. That's not happening. This is just a starting linebacker from Cal. He's fine. He's being offered what, $2 million?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. So I think it shows you just how insane this market is. And it does give you a little grace for the Texas staff when they say, hey, a team came in over the top and we can't pay that. And people are like, I thought we were rich. And it's like, hey, any one team sufficiently motivated, Ole Miss, they can money whip Clemson. Clemson's got national titles on the wall in the last 10 years.
Well, you don't stay rich paying overvalue for everyone too.
That's right. So any really motivated competitor can take a player from you.
And what do you think anything comes from it? I know it was the, college football is Breaking Bad crowd loved it. They see, this is the problem, and now the NCAA has no choice but to look it in the face. I just think it was interesting for the insights. Like, okay, that was the contract amount. Okay, this is how it works. The agent, okay, we know the agents are leveraging, but now we see how the leveraging works. We see that they have no respect for your enrollment in another school. So that was why it was more interesting, just to literally see, okay, these are all things that we thought and that we hear about, the Eric reports on, but to see it in real time from a coach's mouth. Because they also there's been this veil of secrecy where they don't snitch on each other because frankly, you would just be inviting you to get snitched on, right?
Yes.
The old SEC, right? There was unique ways of acquiring players during that Saban era and forever. And we're not just talking about SMU, right? Like Pony Express, right? We know it happens, but there was kind of this thing where it's a fraternity and you don't really call out the other coach. You get him back next off season. But that was the first time you've seen him really pulled with receipts. I've heard coaches complain, but to air it out publicly, I thought that was unique at least.
Yeah, it was. And there were multiple messages there, as I said. Some of it is Dabo. He gets to be righteously indignant and correctly, right? But also he's now sending a message to his fan base of like, look at the sewer of NIL in the portal. This is what you've been telling me to engage in, right? And, and he's also trying to excuse a portal class that wasn't very good, right? Clemson didn't hit the portal again after a disappointing season. So he's trying to say, here's why. Here's what we're dealing with.
And fans will stomach that in the offseason. You go out and lose, and they don't care. At some point, it's going to be like, great, you need to adapt to this system. But for now, you can feed the base, right?
Well, and maybe he's trying to put the spurs to some of his donors, saying, hey, you think Clemson's success is not built on the fact that we have the most money. We're the number 2 school in South Carolina, much less the country in terms of money. So we're not getting SEC contracts or Big Ten contracts. So you guys have to pony up if we're going to be competitive and keep these guys on the Clemson campus. But I do think it was a little startling. And then people do kind of do everyone's tampering, everyone's doing this. And it's like, and then you see it, as you said, and like, here's the timestamps and here's what the agent's texting us. Yeah. And now you're like, okay, so this isn't just people talking trash on the internet, not really knowing. This is really what is happening.
Yeah. And then now we give it to the almighty NCAA to work their magic.
They are eunuchs in a harem. So yeah. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah. I don't know if there's going to be much to it, but it's not really a sustainable process either.
Someone in the chat saying, is he calling out the process or the other coach because the process sucks? Both. Yeah, I mean, so Pete Golding doesn't have a reputation as like Mr. Above Board to begin with. This is the guy that was counter recruiting Sark in the Arch Manning recruitment, saying, hey, he's got, here's these things in his past. He could relapse. Yeah. And people are like, that's pretty scummy, man. And Pete Golding's like, I don't care. I'm trying to win the recruitment. There's pressure on me. It's about my job. So I mean, Pete Golding doesn't care. There's no more gentlemen's agreements in college football, right? Unless you decide, hey, if you're in a street fight and you want to fight by Marquis de Queensberry rules, you're allowed to do that.
Sure.
But the other guy's going to bite you and headbutt you.
Exactly.
So just be aware.
DKR giving away our offense.
That was an old gentlemanly coach circle. Like, no one thought that was weird back in the day.
Yeah. And well, what's frustrating is like, we say there's no rules. there are technically rules. It's just the NCAA can't and doesn't and can't enforce them, right? And so it's like on paper, in paper world, these are all against the rules. It's just the NCAA has no bite. It'd be different if there was no rule book, right? And they were like Wild West, but you can't on paper do what we're doing. But
well, and
enforcement.
So this is one of the reasons I got really mad about OU planning and rehearsing their cheat play.
Yeah.
Because you could say, well, rules are only as useful as their enforcement. True, but most rules in a functioning society, whether you're talking about a body politic or even a subset of sports and athletic games, depend on a general understanding of, hey, man, be cool.
It's a social contract.
Like, it's a social contract. Yeah. Hey, dude, like, I understand there's an anti-littering law in our state, and you could be potentially penalized for littering and all that. Dude, don't litter. You know, there's not a cop on every piece of
right now I can go steal my neighbor's potted plant and I won't get caught.
That doesn't
mean because I won't get caught I should steal their potted plant.
That's right. And so that's kind of ultimately, you have to have some sense of fair play. And people can say, oh, that's very, Mao said power comes from the barrel of a gun. It's true in Mao's world. But the idea is to build something a little better than that.
When you're talking to sociopaths, like all of that might is right. But it's like at some point, there's just society doesn't function in football if you're doing that constantly stealing each other.
And so David Keith Williams in the chat brings up don't mess with Texas. I think a lot of people of a certain generation don't understand where that came from. That's not Texas bravado. It's an anti-littering campaign.
Right.
And the idea of a public anti-littering campaign is not to say, if you litter, you can get a $250 fine from a cop if he sees you. Well, a cop's not going to see you. How many cops are there? Texas is pretty big. What it's saying is socially, we as Texans are all going to decide that we love our state and its appearance. And if you litter, you're a piece of trash. And guess what? Maybe someone will pick it up and cram it in your mouth. And he's not a cop.
Yeah.
Or maybe another Texan will see you and make a face and be like, dude, what are you doing? Go pick that up. So that is a purpose of a social contract. That's the purpose of social pressure. It's conformity without using law.
Yeah.
The NCAA is so toothless and the pressure on these coaches is so extreme that there's just not a social contract. So I think at least half the coaches, if you'd said, hey, this linebacker from Cal, we really like him. We think we can still get him. And you tell your head coach, and the coach goes, where is he? And he's like, well, he's at Clemson. He's enrolled in classes. I think about half the coaches would be like, I don't know, dude. We're not doing that. But half will still be like, contact him. Let's see.
And that's why you actually need the paper law, because half will just do it.
Well, that's
enforcement.
You need the enforcement and the paper law because of the OUs of the world. So when officials say in the offseason, hey, we can't play games with substitutions because there's not enough officials on the field to adequately keep track because people are running on and off constantly in the game. If you're running hurry up, we may not catch it. So we're asking everyone not to do the following. And they start showing film clips. Don't do this. And everyone nods and goes, okay, that's cool. And OU's writing down notes going, these are awesome ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is they celebrate that they practiced to deceive, that they cheated. So my outrage for them wasn't like pearl clutching, like, oh, I'm going to faint on the ottoman. It's that, dude, if you put me in charge of something like that at Texas and just say your whole job is to find holes in substitution rules in college football, I promise you it's going to be WWE. I am going to play all sorts of crazy games that will make the game unwatchable and ultimately stupid. But I'm going to have little advantages in every game until they make specific rules about each thing that I'm doing. Or we can all just agree to be cool and like play football.
Yeah, the spirit of the game, right? Because that wasn't about out executing. That was nothing to do with who had the better athlete. It was trickery.
Yep.
All right. Paul, who's the best mortgage man in the whole wide world?
Here's a man that honors the social contract, which is when you go in to make the biggest purchase of your lives, buying a house, he is not only going to enforce the formal contracts that involve, but he is going to go kick ass on the social contract, which is I'm paying this guy to go kick ass on my behalf. I'm going to set you loose. Go get him. That's what Gabe Winslow is going to do for you. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. Why Gabe? Why not Gabe? Former National Merit Scholar at the great University of Texas. Got a law degree. He's been doing this for over 20 years. This guy is awesome at what he does. He's one of the top originators in the state of Texas. And if you're one of the best in Texas, Connor, you're one of the best in the world. Do you understand me?
Universe.
Okay, the universe. Good. I thought you were going to roll your eyes or something. Okay. All right. We don't need that Denton skepticism.
Yeah, that's what we're known for.
I want you to be a little skeptical about dialing that number. And then I want you to be open-minded enough to have Gabe take over this process and amaze you with what he delivers. Mortgage rates, 3-year low. A lot of people trying to sell their house right now. Not a lot of people looking. Let's go do it. Winter is the time to go buy a house. There's a lot of studies that prove it. 832-557-1095.
Wow. All right. This was a tweet you posted on the Inside Texas board.
Oh, not my tweet, but a tweet.
This is what Paul thinks about blah, blah, blah. All right. This is the profit and loss made by Texas sports in fiscal year 2025, according to documents obtained by the Statesman. All right.
Can I offer my caveats for this?
Sure.
I didn't audit this. This is something that I'm passing on. I think it's directionally correct. It's Hollywood accounting. It's not exactly correct. So don't add up all the columns and say, I thought we lost money this year. There's certain general things that are attributed to athletics, right? So the point that this makes, and I understand I can make these caveats and people in chat are going to be like, you still don't, can you show me the numbers? No, I can't. I'm showing you this. But it also jibes with what I know to be true, which is broadly speaking, football pays for everything. So there's one positive number in that column, and there's a bunch of negatives. I think several of the women's sports, probably you're not surprised. Men's basketball at a loss, partly because of the Rodney Terry hire. But men's basketball, when conditions are correct, we can make money. Rick Barnes at his height was making $5 or $10 million a year. He was in the black. That's good. And then baseball, in the right year, can be basically break even. We were down $2 million. That's not terrible. But it also helps to host regionals and a super regional. So that helps that number there. The rest of it's a loss. So what does this mean other than, well, yeah, I mean, that's cool, whatever. It means we are going to continue to monetize football. And what does that mean for you? Expect more corporate sponsorships. The sacred jerseys that Chris Del Conte talked about. I'm going to put stuff on the field. That's fine. Never mind the fact that it's called Memorial Stadium, maybe for a reason. Well, I'll mess with the field. And then he says the jerseys are sacred. Actually, the field is sacred. The jerseys are not sacred. But in any event, he's trying to make money for football because that's where the eyeballs are. And that's where the profit centers are. So just prepare yourselves, guys. You may see some UT football jerseys with sponsors on them sometime coming. Now, it may be hidden under a broader SEC sponsor, and the CDC will say, throw up his hands like, well, we couldn't do anything. Aflac decided that they gave us too good of a deal. Now everyone in the SEC has Aflac written on their shoulder pad. But that's going to happen more. We're going to have more timeouts with dumb corporate loud promotions on the Jumbotron. You're going to have all sorts of ways to monetize football because football must pay for everything else, or else you can't have college athletics. The other thing I'd offer is in all these non-revenue sports, anytime a player who doesn't know these economic realities says something like, I just want my fair share, send them an invoice.
Tell them to pay you.
Tell them that they owe us about $130,000. And so otherwise, be grateful for room, board, your stipend, and shut up.
Yeah. So Texas at 106.9 million plus, and then everything else drops down. I'm surprised beach volleyball only at 1.7. You would think you have to travel a significant amount for beach volleyball. I thought that just the airfare alone would be a serious
Well, our sand is imported from the Seychelles.
Is that where?
Yeah.
Is that where we get it? We get the premium sand?
We actually buy raw quartz and then we ground it down using a cheese grater because that makes the sand ultra fine.
More fun.
Yeah, they're not spending their money on costume on outfits, right?
Yeah. But it's also it's really painful because I'm the leader of separate football as an entity. You know how universities own hospitals, but it's a separate entity?
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
This is why you can't.
I know this is why I can't. I would sacrifice everybody else because that's what I've been saying. I'm like, look, man, separate it so these rules governing us that we like can't get over can be easily solved, right? The UT hospital system is not actually UT; it's an entity of UT. But you do that, and you absolutely sacrifice everyone. Or what do? You just make the student body pay for them in fees. I mean, that's the other metric. Texas doesn't do it, but
math doesn't math, man.
But I think you could. What is it? What's the loss here? Like around 100 million? Couldn't you? You could gin up 100 million, couldn't you?
I mean,
it depends on your student body size, but I think you could.
I mean,
they've already robbed us blind in every other way for you.
I mean, the student loan debt bubble is greater than anything that we've ever had in American history. So I'm not sure we want to grow that, but hey, why not?
Why not? If it helps football get free. And a lot of other schools already, you do actually pay for your athletics. Texas has just been in a situation where they've been successful to not. But
yeah, that's true. But I think there is still a marginal athletics fee to every student, right? You'd have to increase that substantially to cover all the non-revenue sports. It would be tough.
Yeah. Well, my controversial take, man, is like, I really don't care about like the logo on the field or on the jersey. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I just look outside and it's just billboard. Like this is what it is. This is where we're at. Like this is the game that's being played everywhere else. I've kind of surrendered there. So to me, it's like we're gonna get more commercials. It's like we still get more commercial. Like this is just how it goes to me. It doesn't bother me. Other fans are really, really sensitive to like a logo on the jersey, and it just doesn't do much for me.
I didn't like the logo on the field. I don't like any of that. I don't like that sort of branding. I'm actually cooler with them messing with the jersey than the field. I mean, if it's Royal Memorial Stadium, then what are we memorializing?
Yeah, well, Texas is very specific in that regard.
I mean, most programs are like, hey, we're wearing our traditional all black uniforms, and like they're a school where their colors are red and gold, and you're like, okay, Iowa State, your traditional all black uniforms, okay, and you're gonna have
well, there's a limit to it, right? Like your logo's at the 25-yard, that's fine, but when it comes to like your center field logo is now AT&T,
yeah,
I think that's where there's levels to it, right? But to me, this was natural and going to occur in the professionalization of the sport. And so it just doesn't really, even alternate jerseys. I mean, I like the concept of alternate jerseys. So it's just, I don't know what they wear. The aesthetics of it has never really got to me.
Now, if you ever watched the early UFC, guys would have like Condom Depot on their shorts or like written on their back.
Yep.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
So Dana White was like, no, we're gonna get like Reebok, and if you're gonna wear any like,
well, I agree there. There's like, and that's also commentary, but like the tier of who's a good advertiser, whose money is good there too. And I think that matters. If it's a brand you like, if you're like, well, I'm good with it because it's an Apple sponsorship versus whatever,
Well, and so beyond this and beyond the reality of that football pays for everything, and just please ignore every other poor athlete that they walk out there and the athlete's like, I just want my fair share. It's a women's basketball player or like a men's golf guy. It's like, you can get that through NIL, but you're not getting it through like university payments.
There's no profit into which to pay you with.
Well, you are a revenue drain. If you're a random, girls soccer starter, you're a revenue drain. So be real clear about that. And hey, Title IX, all that stuff, great. Enjoy your time at Texas. Understand that we're $100,000 in the hole because of you specifically. So I don't want to have these little press conferences, you saying, it's not fair that Arch Manning makes this and I make this. We're both athletes. And it's like, yeah, that's great. It's like, it's like me saying, I own businesses. Elon Musk owns businesses. It's not fair. He makes more than I do. It doesn't work that way. So the other part that I think this is important is Texas is going to be peculiarly vulnerable here because we're so desirable, right? The second most watched team in college football this year. We're going to be in the top 5, even when we're disappointing. And you can have demographic slices of different college networks. So a Texas grad, a Notre Dame grad, a Michigan grad, they're more valuable per capita than a Mississippi State grad. Just because of earnings, because of where they live. People have cross-sliced all the tabs and they know actually what. So you're going to see different marketing even geared towards Texas or Michigan fan. It's going to be Lexus, right? It's not going to be necessarily Ford. So, that's something to keep in mind as well. So not only is football the profit center and it has to pay for everything else, but we are particularly appealing. So we're going to get a ton of stuff thrown at us. And they just approved allowing stuff on jerseys and helmets in college football and college sports. So you're going to see it in basketball. You're going to see it in every level.
I want to see the first school to go like full NASCAR, just like 7 different spots.
I mean, and then how NASCAR, if they win a race, they spend the first 30 seconds of the interview saying, I want to thank the good people at Goodyear. I want to thank, and they just go through like a litany. I want to thank Cargill. I want to thank, and they just go through like 9 corporate sponsors and they go, now let me talk about the race. And, you just have to kind of endure that. I think that's going to happen as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an unstoppable force now when you get in professionalization. But yeah, that's why I want football separate, because now you can solve all of these tampering things that we've been discussed, but you just forsake everybody else unless you start charging significant fees to the student body, which now that I've graduated, it's like, okay, yeah, you can charge them. That's all good. You can charge them. I'm already done. But,
so let me answer a question in the chat. Someone, Greg Powell asks, is that what is causing losses in quote and scare quotes NIL? No, this is not. This has nothing to do with NIL. Any of this. NIL is separate. So this is all like ticket revenue,
travel, housing,
television, yeah, and then the losses, the P&L basically here. The liabilities are travel, and I even actually most of the time in these they actually take out tuition and books, so that's not reflected here. So the losses are actually even higher. If you factor that in and say that a paying student would replace them. But what they look at it is we have this set designated of scholarships for these sports. Therefore, there's no loss. We're not replacing a paying student. This is already built into the budget. Right. So, but the NIL is not a part of this.
All righty. We got one chat to hit here. Sonny V. OU player nearly killed a girl once, got a slap on the wrist, redshirt year. Don't think their mindset is get along to go along. Thank you for the chat.
It's in the mascot. They're telling you. Like it's proof in advertising. I mean, what is a Sooner?
They roll up on land, right?
I mean, people that left early to go cheat on the land apportionments where people were allowed to go basically claim land. And they said, you can't leave till this date. Here's the starting line. And then you can go out and you can claim your 40 acres, right? Sooners left early and said, oh, we've been here the whole time. What are you talking about? They're dirt burglars.
All right. Join for $1, guys, over at Inside Texas. New members only. Recruiting. Portal's winding down. But you can also get the team news from Eric. And then, of course, Paul and Ian always dropping that analysis. Everyone, thank you guys so much. This beautiful Tuesday. Hopefully today we're finally supposed to get above freezing in DFW, so it looks like maybe the ice will thaw. It's been since Friday night, been in this house going a little bit insane, so I'm excited for that. Everyone else, stay warm, and this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Later.
See you.